So I'm going to start off today with a little bit of a silly example, and this is functions calling functions. So if I run this program, you see it outputs A, B, C, but the only actual function call that was in our main program is right here where function A is called. So function A is called, and up here inside A, what happens? Well, A gets printed to the screen, and then function A calls function B. So function B is right here, and function B prints a B to the screen, and then function B calls function C. And so function C is right here, and that prints C to the screen, and then that's done. So it goes back, okay, I'm done this. What am I going to do next? There's nothing here. Okay, that's done. I'm back to here. What am I going to do next? Nothing's here. All right, I'm done calling A, and then now my program is done. Now, just to show you that it comes back through here, if I put print D here, and I go and run this, it will not print A, B, D, C. So if I run it, you see it it prints A, B, C, D. And that's because it prints A, then goes starts B. It prints the B, but then right here it goes to function C. It comes down here, does this, comes back, and then it prints the D. Now you want to be really careful when you use this because you could accidentally cause major problems. So for example, if I put an A right here, function A is going to get called, and it's going to print an A, then it's going to call B, which prints a B, and then calls C, which prints a C, then comes back and then prints a D, which calls A, and then A comes up here, it prints an A, and then it calls B, and you can possibly guess what happens. So when I run this, major problems. It says maximum recursion depth exceeded while calling a Python object. So in other words, what happened was A called B, which called C, which then went back and called A, which then called B, which then called C, which then called A, then B, then C, then A, then B, then C, then A, then B, then C, and there was no way for it to ever stop. So Python ended up running into a problem and said, hold on, there's no way out of this loop. It's just going to keep this function calling that function, calling that function, calling that function. They're all calling each other, and there's no way for it to ever stop. And you end up with an error. Okay, so just be careful that you don't end up with functions calling functions and making a loop out of that you can't get out of. In this next example, we are getting two numbers from the user, num1 and num2, and then we're passing them to this function called analyze. So inside analyze, which you can see right here, analyze is taking two values, and it's going to print the sum of, now it's going to call a function add, and it's going to pass those two values. Add is going to send back what happens when we add the sum of x and y. So it'll print the sum. Next it'll print diff, and then and it's going to call the difference function right here, difference of x and y, and that will send up x minus y. We'll send that back to here, and then next it prints product and calls the product function, which is x times y, and lastly the quotient function, which is x divided by y. So when I run this program now, it says enter an integer, and I'll enter something nice like 25, and another integer I'll enter a 5, so the division works out real great. So the sum of 25 and 5 is 30, the difference is 20, the product is 125, and the quotient is 5. Now I didn't have to enter this just like that. Enter an integer, I could enter maybe like 12 and a -6. So their sum is 6. The difference between them is 18. The product is -72, and the quotient is -2. Now because of this difference thing, the difference will be different based on which order we enter our numbers in. So this difference is 18. But if I enter the numbers the other way around, where I have -6 first and then a 12, the difference will be -18 because it just takes the first number and subtracts the second number off of it. Same thing with the quotient. The quotient is the first number divided by the second number. In this last example, I went back to the previous lesson and just modified my Pygame file just a little bit. And you can see that first we are drawing the background, and we're passing this value as a color to our draw background function. And next we're using our check inside again. It's the exact same as before. We're going to check inside where the circle is centered. using the radius of the circle, the x-coordinate of the cursor, and the y-coordinate of the cursor. And we're going to pass those up. And remember we had this check inside function. Now this is modified a little bit. Distance equals calc distance between x, cx, cy, x, and y. So the circle's x, the circle's y, the mouse is x, and the mouse is y. And that's calling this calc distance. And calc distance is right here. It's the one that we've actually used before to calculate the distance between 2 points. So we calculate the distance between 2 points and send that value back. And then we say, if the distance is less than the circle's radius, then send back a true. So let's assume that we do send back a true. So this evaluates to true. Then what's going to happen? Well, we want to draw a circle where? On the window with this color at this x and y and radius. So draw circle is another function, which you can see is right here. We're drawing a circle on what surface? Oh, typo. At this surface, with this color, at this x and y, with this radius, and it's going to be filled in. Okay, but if check inside, if our cursor is not inside the circle, in other words, if this is false, then what's going to happen is we're going to send the exact same information of where to draw the circle, except we're going to pass it the color red instead of the color green. So when I run this, you'll see my cursor is right here, and as soon as I get inside the circle, you can see the circle turns green, and if I go back outside, the circle turns red. And we could add in some click code, so green means I'm actually clicking on the circle, and red means if I click off the circle, nothing would happen, just like a normal button would work in some other kind of a program.